Okay everyone, this video regards ergativity. Welcome to the new video on the MOPC Languages channel. This is one of the first videos regarding theoretical linguistics. I've made mostly videos about specific languages. Now I'm gonna talk about one specific feature of languages, of linguistics, that puzzles a lot of people, that causes a lot of confusion. Many people just don't understand. There's a number of videos on it. I'm going to try to make a contribution to the discussion on ergativity. So ergativity, in general, is the feature as defined by standard linguistics, a system of marking the subject of a transitive verb differently from the subject of an intransitive verb. A transitive verb is a verb that has an object, like the man killed the cat. An intransitive verb is a verb that only has a subject, like the man died. So these two subjects are marked different, and the subject of the intransitive verb is marked usually as, or not marked at all, so receives the same treatment as the object of the transitive verb, in this case the cat, like an object, which makes sense given that the subjects of most intransitive verbs are semantically, in their meaning, they are sort of passive. The man died, the man suffered death. And the man killed the cat suffered death. The object of the verb to kill suffers death. And the subject of the verb to die suffers death. There's a certain connection there. So basically you have this diagram here, which you're seeing right now. A-S-O. A is the agent, which is usually the subject of a transitive verb. The agent, the subject of a transitive verb, is marked differently. And the subject of the intransitive verb is the same, typically unmarked. And when the verb agrees there has agreement of person or number or gender or whatever category, when the verb agrees, the transitive verb agrees with the object. And the intransitive verb, of course, only has a subject, can only agree with its subject. That there's no other argument there. Before we move on, don't forget to visit my online thematic multilingual dictionary, the intuitionary.com, which contains the web's only thematic, multilingual, customizable dictionary or vocabulary acquisition platform, which is thematically arranged way of acquiring in parallel the vocabulary of many languages, something that it doesn't exist on the internet so far as anybody knows. There are no multilingual thematic, even monolingual or bilingual thematic dictionaries. None, and for me, thematic dictionaries have always been the best way of acquiring what is the hardest part of a language, the most tiring, the most exhausting part of language learning, which is a vocabulary acquisition. Moving on to ergativity, there are sort of four categories of ergativity in general. When it comes to morphological ergativity, which is morphosyntactical alignment, the alignment of the markings of who is subject and object and agreement of the verb, there's a full ergativity. There is those rules that I talked about. They always apply on the language to any situation. Split ergativity typically only applies to a certain condition, usually when the verb is in the perfect past or in a perfect form, in a perfect aspect, a completed specific action. So that could also be called perfect ergativity, or aspect conditioned ergativity. There is so-called Filipino or Austronesian alignment, which is a type of alignment similar to ergativity that occurs in certain Filipino and other Austronesian, Malaysian languages of Southeast Asia. I'm not talking about those on this video because I may make a separate video regarding that subject. That'll be too much for a single video. And there's also syntactic ergativity. I'm not talking about that much about syntactic ergativity on this video. I'm focusing on the two first forms because syntactic ergativity appears to occur only in like one or two or three Australian Aboriginal languages. So far, as far as we know, a very rare feature of languages. Let's focus on full ergativity and split ergativity. Here you can see the map of languages that are ergative or split ergative all over the world. You can see that most Australian Aboriginal languages are ergative, as well as most Indian, those North Indian languages of Sanskrit origin, of Aryan origin, as well as certain Iranian languages such as Pashto and Kurdish languages are ergative. Those languages of India and the Iranian languages are of the split type. They are conditioned by the perfect aspect. The languages of Australia are mostly full ergative. Tibetan is also partly ergative. There's a handful of native languages to the New World, the Amerindian languages of the New World, especially in the Amazon and certain other areas in Central America. The Mayan languages are ergative, fully ergative. Yanomamo languages of Northern South America, spoken in the Northern Amazon between Brazil and Venezuela. I have a video on Yanomamo here on the channel in English. Take a look at it. Is ergative. In Europe, in Western Europe, only Basque, the language spoken in northern Spain and southern France, which is a leftover from pre-Indo-European languages in Europe, a very archaic, interesting language, not related to other Western European languages. The language of Basque is fully ergative. And other than that, in Europe, we find ergativity abundantly in the Caucasus region. The Caucasus is that southern region between southern Russia and the Middle East, where there's Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and a bunch of other Russian semi-autonomous republics such as Chechnya and Dagestan. Chechen is a fully ergative language that I also have a video about here on the channel. My video on Chechen, on the Chechen language, received a lot of praise. It's one of the best reviews on Chechen grammar. So I have already 2 videos regarding ergative languages. Take a look at them, and if you want to, and then go back to watch the video here to understand ergativity better. Let's take the 2 European languages that have ergativity, the 2 largest: Basque, spoken by 500,000 people in Western Europe, and Chechen, spoken by almost 1 million people in southern Russia. For example, the word for man, or the word for man is kison, and the man is kisona in Basque. But when you say the man killed the fish, you say kisonak araina il suen. Man, the fish, il suen is made a killing or killed it. Okay, so we're not talking about the structure of the verb, but pay attention how gisona, which is the man, gained the k sound at the end, gisonak. But if you say the man died, you say gisona, which is the same form as the form in the sentence, the fish killed the man. Arainak, that's the fish receiving the k. So to see that the k is a marker of ergativity. The marker of ergativity typically goes to the subject of a transitive verb, which is almost always an agent, somebody who performs an action. And the subject and the object of the verb is a patient, somebody who suffers the action. So the fish killed the man is the fish is the agent and receives the K to mark that. And gisona doesn't receive any marking. And what's strange is that the verb, we're gonna see that later, if we were to change like fish or man to the plural, the verb does agree in number with its agreeing complement. But it would agree in these sentences, it would agree with the patient, with the object of the verb, not the subject. Araina ilsen, the fish died. No marking there because that's the subject of an intransitive verb, and also because it suffers the action, undergoes the action. The verb to die is a verb whose subject, it's a so-called unaccusative verb. An accusative verb in linguistics is a language, intransitive verbs whose subject suffers, undergoes the action expressed by the verb. What's somewhat strange in Basque is that the marker of plural is also a K. So sometimes a plural will look like an ergative. Gisonak arainak il situen. You can say that the il suen becomes il situen to agree with the plural fishes. The man killed the fishes. The arainak is the plural of araina. Araina, fish, arainas, arainak, fishes. And the verb went from il suen to il situen to agree with the subject. To agree with its object, actually. When a plural goes to the ergative, the vowel before it, which typically is a definite article, actually changes from a to e, from a to e. So arainak becomes arainik. Arainik, gisonak, il situsten. The fish killed the man. So that's when the fishes killed the man. The plural, arainek, the fishes killed the man. Here we have a subject, with an agent which is in the plural, and an object which is in the plural. Multiple fishes killed multiple men. And then the verb also agrees with both, because the verb in Basque agrees with the subject and the object, the agent and the patient. Arainak il siren. So that's the plural. The fishes died. So there's only one thing to agree with. The il siren is the plural. They died. Arainak, Hilsiren, Gizonak, Hilsuren. When we go to Chechen, we have like Staga, Cheri, Dayina. Typically the final A's are not pronounced. Staga is the ergative of stag, man. Cheri is fishes. Cheri, Baina, Bojari. The fish killed the man. Cheri, Drela, the fish died. And Bojari, Bela, the man died. The man built the house. Stag once again becomes Staga. Tra is a house. And Dina is made. The man made a house. Here we have Staga Tsenosh Din. The man built the houses. The verb would agree with the plural there. It doesn't change in this case, but it's agreeing with the houses. Staga Izuda Ina. The man killed the woman. And Staga Zudari Baina. The verb in the end there, Ina in the singular, Baina in the plural, because in the second sentences, multiple women have been killed, even though only one man killed them. The verb is agreeing with the plural of women, which is for somebody who speaks most languages, not only European language, but most Asian and African languages, find that extremely strange, okay? Languages such as Turkish, Zulu, Swahili, pretty much any language that has agreement with the verb agrees with something, it agrees with the agent of the verb, with its subjects, regardless of whether the subject is active or passive. It'll agree with the subject, which brings us to the question of what is a subject anyway? Is there such a category as a subject? Maybe in the non-ergative languages, which are called accusative languages or accusative dominative languages. Maybe there is such a thing. Maybe there is such a thing as a subject, because a subject is both the agent of a transitive and the subject of an intransitive, which are treated as subject. But in the ergative languages, can you talk about a subject at all? That's difficult to say, because the subject, the only purpose of the definition of subject is something that attracts agreement. But in ergative languages, a verb agrees with the complement, with the object of the verb. Well, it's theoretically puzzling. Here we have Kurdish. Kurmanji Kurdish is a language spoken in northern Iraq and southern Turkey, southeastern Turkey. It's an Iranian language, therefore descended from old Iranian, Aryan, Western Aryan dialects such as, in this case, Kurdish is probably related to ancient Median, or what do you call it, Avestan as well, as modern Pashto, and is also related to modern Farsi or modern Persian. But that's not the point. The point is that Kurdish is a split ergative. A split ergative language is A language where ergativity is only triggered when the verb goes to the perfective aspect or perfect past, indicates a completed action in the past. Okay, so we have here merik masi kushtin. Merik receives a subject of a marker of ergativity. Merik. Masi mirin, the fish died. And mermirin, the man died. So there's no ergativity there. Here's the fish died. The fish doesn't change in the ergative. But the man loses the ik and becomes masi mer kushtin. In Yanomamo, kami yamakune, Yuri Yamapa Warema. So that's we ate fish. We ate the fishes. Kamiyamak is we. Kamiyamakn is the ergative marking of we. Yamapa indicates that we did something. We in the past. And then wa is the verb to eat. And rema indicates perfect aspects and ma indicates past. So we have a perfect past triggering. Even though Yanomamo is not split ergative, even in a non-perfect verb, in a non-perfect sentence, the structure would still be ergative. Sharaka ya'an yarema. So that's I shot an arrow. Sharaka is an arrow. There's no marking there. Ya a nyarema. Ya means I. Ya. A means the object of the verb is a third person singular, that one arrow. And nyarema, nya is to shoot, and rema indicates past perfect. Certain languages with a Chechen, with an ergative alignment, such as Chechen, when a verb is a composite verb, like a verb in the progressive form, such as the man was writing, stag yazdesh vara, man writing was. The auxiliary verb agrees with the subject, while the main verb in the gerund agrees with the object. That's something that exists sometimes in European languages, like in French, il les a tués. If he killed the women, he killed them. Il les a tués. So the tué goes to the feminine plural marking, right? So the verb agrees with the object as well. Tuer. We don't. French don't. The French don't speak it anymore. But in the writing, you see, we have them killed. We use the feminine plural form of the past participle tuer. Stag yandeshvara, yazdeshvara. Stag kniga, yazyeshvara. If the man was writing, is used intransitively, like without a subject. The man was just writing. The man was in the action of writing. That's an intransitive use of the verb to write. So when there is no object, the verb, which is desh there, receives the D letter, which means agreement with something that doesn't exist, an impersonal agreement, because there is no object. Yazdesh is writing. But is writing a book means kniga yazyesh. The D disappears at the ye. That's the sound of a Y. The y sound is placed there in the yesh verb, which is the gerund of the verb to make, to agree with kniga. Kniga is a Y, is a ye gender. In Chechen there are 6 genders, and kniga is of the ye. Kniga you. So kniga yazdesh vara. If the man were writing a book, Bojari kniga yazyesh bara. No longer vara, because the man requires a V agreement in vara. But the plural of man, bojari, requires a be agreement. Bara, the men were. Bojari bara. Bojari que diga Yazish bara. The men were writing a book. In this case, the auxiliary verb agrees with man, but the main verb, writing, in the gerund, agrees with the object. Which is something I've shown you. Happens in French as well. Something that is within, there's a certain logic to it, if you think about it. Even when we use light verbs are verbs like to make use of something instead of using. Sometimes we make to take advantage of something, it's a verb that contains an object in itself, a verbal idiom, like to take advantage, to make use, or some. In Chechen, for example, there are many such verbs because the verb category is closed. You cannot create a new verb. When you borrow a new noun or create a new noun and want to create a verb from it, you just add the verb to make with it, or if you want some other verbs that can be made. That can be used for such a purpose. In the case of the verb to sleep, they use dab, which is probably a Persian word, dab, and keta, which is to catch. Even in this case, the language recognizes these structures as non-transitive. The verb to sleep still is recognized as an intransitive verb, and the subject of those verbs stay in the absolutive case, which is a non-ergative case, the simple unmarked case, which in nominative languages, accusative languages like English, is called the nominative, but in ergative languages called the absolutive case. So stag nab qetavu, stag nab qetavu. The man is sleeping. The man sleep catching is. No ergative mark in there, even though technically he's catching sleep. Isn't sleep the object of the verb to catch? So in this case, though, those languages recognize light verbs as non-transitive.